there's no easy way to say this, but Canadians are pissed. They're pissed off with our local government. They're pissed off with mismanagement of this country. They're pissed off with the affordability crisis. They're just angry on so many different levels for so many different reasons. And today, we're going to take a look at some of those reasons. Welcome back to another video, everybody. Before we get into it, I want to encourage everyone to smash the like button and subscribe if you haven't yet already. We are very close to 400,000 subscribers on this channel. And just for those who don't remember or maybe even don't know, I have an additional channel called Mr. Sunshine Baby Extra. It'll be linked down in the description or the pinned comment below. Once that channel reaches 2,000 subscribers, I will be going to Ottawa. I'll be going to Parliament to watch the next or one of the next question periods. So if you'd like to see me do that, if you'd like to participate in me going to do that, then I would highly recommend that you go and subscribe to that channel, and that's linked down in the description or the pinned comment below. We have quite a few stories to go over today. We have our climate minister in Canada, Stephen Guilbeault, says, yeah, no, I understand people are struggling, but we're not backing down from the tax. Then you have Jordan Peterson, who drops a bit of a bombshell on Justin Trudeau. He does an interview with Pierre Poilievre where things get a little bit heated. And to end things off, we have Global News and their take on the recent vote of no confidence and the carbon tax price hike and just everything involved with that. So I'd like to encourage you to stick around for as long as you can, as long as you can bear for the duration of the video. Without further ado, here we go.
And I do take your point, Minister, that as far as volume goes, there are more of those homes outside of Atlantic Canada, but as a portion of the types of heating that's used, it's far greater in Atlantic Canada than it is in other parts of the country. And the Atlantic MP surrounding the Prime Minister, when he made that announcement, I think speaks to that fact. But at this point in time, given the affordability struggles, like you highlight many of those using home heating oil are facing, would it not be worth considering pressing pause in this instance?
No, it wouldn't, because we can't put a pause on climate change. And what Pierre Poilievre never talks about is the fact that people right now, 8 out of 10 Canadians, families, get more money back than they pay in carbon pricing. So the richest among us don't. The people who pollute the most, but 8 out of 10 Canadian families, and that has been confirmed by the Parliamentary Budget Officer. So if we were to do that, we would actually hurt people economically while they're struggling. It wouldn't help them at all.
So let's just unpack that statement for a moment, because when the Parliamentary Budget Officer considered the in and out, exactly what you're referring to, he did determine that when you take just the direct input of the carbon tax and the value of the rebate, more Canadians are better off. But when you add on the economic impact, so for example, the impact on investment income and overall on economic growth, slightly more Canadians, he determined, were worse off. Add to that, Minister, the fact that you have about $2.5 billion, only $100 million of which has been allocated that was supposed to be set aside for those who are disproportionately impacted by the carbon price, so farmers, small business owners, and Indigenous people, and you have yet all these years in to disperse that money. Is it fair to truly say more Canadians are better off?
Absolutely, it is. The Parliamentary Budget Officer, and he did some interviews this week, is the first one to recognize that this analysis is a partial analysis. It doesn't take into account the economic benefits of growing renewable and clean tech industry and the investments that we're doing in electrification of transportation, which will have very beneficial economic impacts to Canadians. It will come over time in the
All right, we're just going to pause it for a quick second, and I'm going to address you, the viewers. Do you really care about the economic impact that the carbon tax has, or are you more worried about affordability? Please let me know down in the comments. I have a feeling most people are more worried about affordability than something in the future that is trying to be heavily pushed by a lot of different governments around the world that they just don't really fully understand. Please let me know down below in the comments. Let's continue this interview.
In the coming years, the Parliamentary Budget Officer is the first one to recognize that his analysis doesn't take into consideration the cost to Canadians of climate change. And in terms of farmers, we've returned more than $1 billion of federal investment to help farmers reduce their carbon footprint, to reduce their pollution in the last 2 years. There is a portion of the money that we still have to return for small and medium-sized businesses and to Indigenous communities, and we're working to do that, and this will happen in the coming months.
But with respect, Minister, that money has been set aside since 2019. Those small businesses are telling your government and us frequently how difficult things are for them at the moment. It's not nothing. It's 10% of what you've taken in through the carbon tax, and so far you've dispersed just $100 million of that.
So a couple of things. I mean, we lowered taxes for small and medium-sized businesses. So we have been there for them. We supported them through the pandemic, through billions of dollars of federal support. 80% of the money that was spent during the pandemic to help Canadians, to help businesses, and especially small and medium-sized businesses, came from the federal government. In terms of the carbon pricing, we are in the process of returning that money. We haven't been sitting on $2 billion since 2019. The program was put in place in 2019. This money has accumulated over time, and we will be returning it to them, as we promised to do, as I said, in the coming months.
And then I just wanted to look ahead, if you could, for a moment, Minister, to what the future looks like, because you know that this will form a big part of the political debate going forward and heading into the next election. Right now, the plan that your government laid out post-2019, the 2019 election, got us to 2030 and the targets that you set out to 2030, and that is when the price on carbon will reach $170 a ton. Do you intend for that price to continue to go up, since you do see this as such an integral part of your climate policy beyond 2030 to help Canada reach its 2050 target?
So we haven't made a decision on that. We've started consultation to prepare the next phase of emission reduction, so post-2030 in Canada, in fact, going to 2035. Those consultations are ongoing. Canada will need to make a determination by next year, as per our United Nations commitment, to set those new targets for 2035. We will need to do that by next year, by 2025. There's no decision that has been made yet, other than we will continue increasing the price on pollution. But also, for people who are watching it, we will continue increasing the rebate so that 8 of 10 Canadians can continue receiving more than what they pay. But no decision has been made as to what would happen after 2030.
You have a lot of experience in this.
It angers Canadians. It angers me. It angers everybody, because we're paying more money, like an exorbitant amount. We're not just paying small amounts more money. We're paying to the point where people are having to reevaluate their priorities, where they can't, put their kids in extracurricular activities. They can't buy certain foods for certain snacks. It's actually cheaper. It's significantly cheaper to eat unhealthy, to eat garbage food right now, than it is to eat healthy food. Your proteins, your vegetables, your starches. It's insane. And it's hurting Canadians. It's not just hurting our wallets. It's hurting us emotionally, right? Emotional damage to the highest capacity. And it really doesn't help the situation when you have our finance minister, Freeland, who gets into a committee hearing and says this:
more homes built faster, and we're also working hard to be sure that homes are not a financial asset.
Thank you very much,
They're for Canadian
Minister.
citizens. No,
Thank you very much, Minister.
Homes are not a financial asset, according to Canada's finance minister. That is terrifying. I'm not saying or suggesting that homes should be the greatest investment in terms of rentals, of buying up rentals, right? Somebody somewhere has to do it, but homes are a financial asset. Everybody knows that the best thing you could do where you park your money is in real estate, whether it's your primary residence or whether it's a rental. And for the finance minister to come out and say and actually acknowledge that she does not view the finance minister of Canada, the minister who's in charge of all our finances in Canada, does not view a home as a financial asset. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe I'm uneducated in this. I'm not the smartest person. I didn't go to university for this stuff. But that seems like such a very odd thing to say. That wasn't out of context. That's actually what she said. So very bizarre. I'd love to know your thoughts down below on that. Is a house a financial asset? Or am I just tripping out? Am I gaslighting? Am I being gaslit? Am I wrong? Am I spreading wrong information? Or was that a little absurd? Looking forward to reading the comments on that one. Next up, we have Jordan Peterson, who interviews Pierre Poilievre. Now, this is quite recent. This is 4 or 5 days ago. He did interview Pierre Poilievre a little while back, a year or two ago, but this is a fresh interview, and we're only going to watch a little bit of it. If you'd like to watch the full clip, I'd highly recommend you go to Jordan Peterson Clips' YouTube channel. But I just want to listen to this one question here.
To me, and there wasn't another person that could win on the Liberal side and better a Trudeau Liberal, even if it's a consequence of family name, than any damn Conservative, let's say. But I still saw it as a manifestation of a really profound narcissism. I think a reasonable person would have said, I'm not prepared for this, certainly not yet, and I'm not the man that there needs to be in this position. And so I don't know what you think about those musings, but that's how I looked at Trudeau. And I certainly haven't seen anything in the preceding years that has disabused me of any of those notions.
I mean, I think there's some truth in that. His victory was definitely not a meritocratic one. And he was probably the least vetted prime ministerial candidate in our history. The media just glossed over so much of his life to go straight to help him and protect him. It was almost like they built a protective cocoon around him, and you know, like he had dressed up in grotesque racist costumes so many times. He says by his own claim, he can't remember them all. I mean, the average politician had done that once. It would have been exposed, and that person would have been expelled from politics altogether. But
Justin Trudeau is immune to these repercussions, to any repercussions. He's not ever been held accountable to the right accord or to the right standard that any regular person would be held to. And if we're just going to go out on a limb and say that, you know, politicians are exempt from most things that regular people are not, sure, yeah, I don't know if I agree or disagree with that in this particular moment. I think that politicians should be held accountable like every other person. So actually, I would, that's the stance I'm taking. Justin Trudeau is even above and beyond that. There's other politicians that have done some pretty nasty things and gotten away with it. Justin Trudeau has done so many nasty things, not just the blackface controversy, but also the lack of accountability with inviting somebody who fought the Russians in World War II, you know, that person who was up in the gallery at the parliament, that guy just happened to slip through the cracks because Slava Ukraine was the go-to thing. And anyone that fought against Russia is obviously the good guys, even in the history books. Oops, that was a big slip up. And then there's also all the bribes that Justin Trudeau has taken for family vacations. And the controversies don't end. And it seems like Justin Trudeau not only has a bubble of immunity through the press, mainstream media isn't that critical of him to the extent they should be, but, you know, the law, he's above and beyond the law. And I get it. Presidents, prime ministers, there's certain exceptions to the rules that they get. They're not the average person, right? If they get caught speeding 15 kilometers, 20 kilometers over, yeah, you're the leader of the country. Okay, a slap on the wrist, or maybe let's just keep that hush hush. But still, man, he's done so many bad things for the country that have hurt people, so many ethics violations. It seems like he should be in jail. And I mean that sincerely. Like, don't you think that? People watching this, like, let me know down in the comments if you genuinely think that Justin Trudeau should be in jail, not just jumping on a bandwagon of, yeah, Trudeau sucks, but, like, actually, shouldn't there be some repercussions with the law for his actions? One would assume and one would hope so, but no, Trudeau has a sense of immunity. So yeah, that's where I'm gonna end that part. I'd love to know what you guys think down below in the comments. And finally, we're gonna take a look at global news and what they have to say about the vote of no confidence and Trudeau over the carbon tax price hike vote that happened.
Conservative Party leader Pierre Poilievre ramped up his campaign to try and pause a scheduled hike of the federal carbon tax on April 1st. After running petitions and attempting to force an emergency debate in the House of Commons, today he urged MPs to back his motion to topple the Liberal government over the planned increase. Our chief political correspondent, David Aiken, watched the debate play out. David?
Well, Jackson, the Conservatives simply did not have the numbers to bring down the government.
I declare the motion defeated.
The minority Trudeau government won the day with the support of Bloc Québécois and NDP MPs. The Tories would surely have known they would lose, but for them, the point of the exercise was to force the debate.
We as common sense Conservatives are ready to restore hope in this country, but it starts with change. We rise today to vote non-confidence in this NDP Liberal government.
And while the House of Commons spent the day debating that confidence motion, Conservatives on the House's Transport Committee were trying to make more political hay at the expense of Environment Minister Stephen Guilbeault. Guilbeault had been quoted in February saying the federal government would no longer invest in new roads. He subsequently corrected himself to say he meant there would be no federal money for a car tunnel in Quebec. But his political opponents were not going to let him off that easy.
So this seems to be a war on cars. This has been the plan all along. And so what Minister Guilbeault did was just say the quiet part out loud.
My comments were specifically related to the project in Quebec.
Guilbeault is a favorite target of Conservatives because he is the chief evangelist for the carbon tax.
So if you don't understand how the carbon tax affects road infrastructure, I can't help you. But I have a question for you. Is there anything that you would do to walk back, you personally, would you walk back in any case the 23% carbon tax increase in April?
Guilbeault would only defend the carbon tax in French,
Oui, la tarification va...
noting that, yes, while the carbon tax does go up April 1st, so does the rebate paid to most Canadians in getting Canada to net zero emissions. But the Institute said industrial carbon pricing systems on large emitters, that's what's in place in Alberta, will make the single biggest contribution to cutting emissions. Jackson.
Thanks, David.
It is just atrocious, man, that these Liberals and NDP and Bloc, they all are ganging up on Canadians. And even though the vote of no confidence failed, Canadians got to see that there is a bigger coalition at play. You got three parties up against Conservatives that are waiting and ready to gouge Canadians and guise it under this tax and gaslight people, saying you're getting more money back than you're paying. But then you have Pierre Poilievre that come out and his whole team of Conservatives, they come out and they say, no, you're not getting more back than what you're paying, and they break it down. And so even though it was a failure, it's still a step in the right direction, or at least that's maybe just my overly optimistic approach, where I think that there's still a chance that we can turn things around and get the country back on the right path through voting and just through educating people. We need to share videos like this and share other videos that are similar to this, so that you have people that are on the fence or maybe just not politically educated or versed that can be a little bit more aware of what is going on, so that they can make an informed decision that would best suit themselves and you know, what their wants and needs and desires are. And for me and my family, and I'm assuming for your family, it's probably affordability. So that's where we're going to end today's video, folks. I'd love to know what you guys think down below in the comments. On your way out, I'd really like to encourage you to smash the like button and subscribe if you haven't yet already. It does really help grow the channel and help push the video out. And I will see you all in the next one. Bye for now.